Research contributes new knowledge that helps us improve and understand our environment. Can your students be researchers too? Yes. No matter how much research we conduct, there will always be many interesting questions that students can explore. For example, which substrate is more effective for oyster re-establishment in a local estuary? What kinds of activities do people of different ages do in different outdoor spaces? Do native or introduced plant species attract more bees in a school garden? Indeed, the list of possible questions that trigger curiosity is endless. In your classroom or after-school program, your students can ask such scientific questions and find answers themselves by conducting experiments and observations. We're talking about inquiry-based learning. Inquiry is a type of scientific thinking in which students ask a question, conduct observations to obtain evidence, and find an answer. Through inquiry, students learn about science topics such as climate change, ecosystem services, and biodiversity. Inquiry also teaches about the process of scientific research because it mirrors the processes and thinking that scientists use every day. Let's explore an example to illustrate the eSTEM inquiry process. Imagine your school is going to install a green roof. Your maintenance staff wonders which soils and which plants to choose for this green roof. To answer this question, your students will investigate differences among soils and plants in providing ecosystem services. Answering this question will determine which soils and plants your school will purchase from a local plant nursery. To conduct inquiry, first, your students will articulate specific questions that they can answer with the available time. In our example, students can ask, which green roof soils and plants will be more effective in preventing rainwater runoff, supporting the biodiversity of native insects, or regulating the building temperature in summer? Second, students will plan and conduct an experiment. Let's say students decided to measure which soils will hold more rainwater. They will take plastic containers with samples of different soils, some of which may contain more sand or more organic matter. Students will pour an equal amount of water into samples until they are saturated and begin to leak. Or maybe your students want to answer which soil provides better temperature insulation. They could use containers with soils, put them in a sunny area for an hour, and measure soil temperature at an equal depth. Alternatively, over a longer period of time and on the actual green roof, your students can investigate the effect of small shrubs, perennial grasses, and low-growing succulents on rainwater retention and soil temperature. Before experiments, students come up with a hypothesis based on their prior knowledge and on science that they learned in class. During an experiment, students use observation protocols to record results and conditions of their experiment. Third, your students analyze and interpret their findings. At this stage, they use spreadsheets to organize their observations, create graphs to visualize results, identify whether a hypothesis was confirmed, and write a report of their results. In their report, students should reflect on possible research biases and errors and practice critical thinking by developing alternative explanations of their results. They may also include recommendations for school maintenance staff as well as sustainability practitioners and local residents. Fourth and finally, students can present their findings. Presenting inquiry results to community members, students from other grade levels, or experts at scientific conferences gives your students a chance to articulate and think deeper about their inquiry and be proud of their achievements. One study showed that presenting results of an inquiry project was an important step in students building their identity as environmentalists. Your audience may positively react to your students' curiosity and persistence and give them helpful feedback that can lead to future inquiries. To enhance inquiry-based learning, consider these tips. Guide your students in defining their own inquiry questions. Students may need help narrowing down their question to one that they have the time and materials to answer. You will also need to guide students through all stages of their inquiry, at each stage trying to balance allowing students as much leeway as possible to learn from their mistakes, while helping to ensure that they do not get discouraged by failing to accomplish the tasks that they set out for themselves. Students may have a bias towards interpreting their results so that they agree with their hypothesis. Through asking your students to explain their results, you can guide them towards interpretations that accurately reflect their data. This may involve asking a series of questions, gently probing students to think critically and to abandon preconceived notions as needed. Younger students stay more interested in experiments that take a day or two, whereas older students can sustain their interest over a much longer time, especially if they are allowed to design experiments they find meaningful and relevant. After an inquiry project, help your students come up with yet more questions and build hypotheses even if they won't conduct other research projects in class. Authentic inquiry never stops. It always feeds students' curiosity. After one question is answered, students will often come up with several new questions. As an STEM educator, you can encourage your students to keep asking questions about their environment, conduct exploration, and critically analyze inquiry results.